Hello, guys, welcome to the Underdogs podcast, episode 5 of the most scuffed but the only English podcast about PCS without me is WPE Ale, the owner of West Point Esports, one of the newest organizations in the PCS. And if you can introduce yourself in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Meander. So my name is John Rafael de la Paz. I go by the name IL, so I'm the team owner and founder of West Point Esports. And as Meander mentioned, we're the newest team so far in the league. So we've been in the league for like two splits now. The first one is in partnership with our good friends at SEM9, and for the second split, we decided to venture on our own. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you can expand on that SEM9 WP collaboration angle because I mean, this was probably this was probably a stroke of luck, probably for you and the Filipino community as a whole. You don't really get to often just kind of join in as just kind of by just kind of getting a partnership and then just this second team just noping out.
Okay, so it actually started at as more of like an invite coming from them, like, hey, do you want to join the PCS? Do you want to collaborate with us in the spring split of 2023? Because prior to that, we've been like pretty much in touch with other Southeast Asian esports organization, particularly with League of Legends one. So basically, it's SEM9 and other teams. So we've been screaming with them a lot. So and the um, the community in Southeast Asia, with the exception of Vietnam, because we all know that Vietnam has a
Yeah, yeah.
separate League of Legends community of its own. It's pretty much tight. So tight in a sense that there are only limited players, and so we kind of like know other people from SEM9, and we've been in contact with them. And I think that in our Facebook posts before that we really wanted to join the PCS because I feel like that's the next step that we're actually aiming for when it comes here in the Philippines, because we've been winning quite a lot here in the Philippines. Our biggest achievement so far before that was winning silver in the 31st SEA Games, which was held in Vietnam.
Hmm?
And right after winning the silver, I felt like as an organization, it's time for us to step into the scene. But we all know how tough the competition is when it comes to the PCS. So kind of how it started, and we're very, very much thankful for SEM9 with their owners and the head of esports, which I know personally now because we've been corresponding for a lot to give us that opportunity to showcase that somehow we can compete in the Pacific Championship Series.
Yeah, it's definitely tough at times when the slot is open. It's tough to definitely compete against just Taiwanese capital alone. Maybe not the Hong Kong one. When it comes to Hong Kong, we only really have Frank and Talon Esports on the board, but yeah, I mean, with all of these organizations from Taiwan coming and living in a year, it's kind of surprising that a team from Southeast Asia actually kind of aims to go towards that 1+ year tenure in the PCS. Like, I've heard that you are actually looking for a gaming house in Taiwan. You did set up a Relia to go to Taiwan with the team, and it actually paid off great when it comes to the players' performance. So, can you tell us what is your ambition when it comes to PCS, at least short term?
Okay, so when we decided to commit to the PCS, I really had to talk to my partners because it entails a lot of investment. Of course, we all know that running a team is a little bit expensive, right? And since West Point Esports is unlike the other organizations, where we're basically like a grassroots level team that somehow rose across the ranks, winning some local championships, some Southeast Asian invitational tournaments. So, on a financial perspective, it's a little bit difficult, of course, since it was not established initially as a corporation, unlike other esports teams. You know that when they make their own team, it's already have multiple backers, multiple investors, etc. So I really had to talk to my partner if we're going to handle that on the financial perspective. And then there's another issue, the operations perspective, because as much as we were winning a lot here in the Philippines and other Southeast Asian tournaments, we all know that it's definitely way tougher when it comes to the PCS because the last Philippine team that joined, Liam Esports, which was also a Philippine-based organization.
Yeah, the now
Um,
infamous Liab, pretty much.
yeah. So, of course, we patterned our, that's where we came up with the analysis that how much tough is the competition at the PCS level. So when we first joined the PCF in the first split, we encountered some technical difficulties, and at the same time, being a newcomer, so we were a little bit well. We all know how tough the competition will be, but facing some uncertainties when it comes to language barrier, because we got two Hong Kong players at that time, and at the same time, we
Yeah,
were not
Fia
also
and
able to
Keres, as far as I
anticipate
remember.
the problem. Yeah, Karis and Fia, they're both from Hong Kong, so it was tough during the first split, and during the second split, you were thank you for noticing that there was slight improvement when we brought Relly in Taiwan. I was actually with him during his stint in Taiwan. I was able to explore the country for like a couple of weeks. It was very much wonderful. The Taiwanese people are so nice and so friendly. The food there is amazing, and on top of that, I think we were very proud of the results because for week 5 and week 6, we were able to go like, if I remember correctly, 4 wins, 4 out of 6 wins, and Relia playing at Taiwan with that speed, with that internet speed level, and being to communicate well with his teammates right beside him, it really it really made a lot of difference. So kind of makes me wonder, maybe that those what ifs. What if we brought Rally earlier? Maybe some of those other close games that we have could have like. I'm not saying that we could have won it, but maybe it would be much closer than what actually happened. So with the happenings at the spring split of summer 2023, wherein we are tied at seventh place with Helpigs. Um, we're very much excited to go to the spring split of 2024. We're going to I'm going to confirm that rumor that you heard that we're looking for a gaming house in Taiwan. So we're working on that right now, and we're planning to bring our Filipino players there for further training. And now that we have a gaming house, now that we have, because right now in the PCS we're the only team that doesn't have a gaming house, given the fact that we are far from each
Hmm.
other. So by the next split we will have a gaming house. Our players will be in Taiwan. So we are expecting for a better um, finish as compared to the seventh place that we earned this summer split.
Yeah, and on maybe a little bit on that topic, when it comes to actually Southeast Asian teams and having infrastructure, it was really a struggle for pretty much every single one to pretty much provide that. You had Boom Esports playing from Thailand because of COVID with 200 up to 200 ping. When you were first playing with SEM9 WPE, this was also what I've heard, that you were also having massive ping issues. And my question would actually be, do you think that with the correct infrastructure, a would a majority or a full Southeast Asian team actually be competitive maybe in the scene of PCS with like enough scouting, good coaching, and actually just being there in Taiwan?
Um, I cannot confidently say yes because I feel like that would be a little bit disrespectful and arrogant to the Taiwanese community. But I feel like if we were able to narrow down the ping issues, well, I can also confirm that on our end that we experienced an extremely high ping during our first split of 20 of spring split 2023. But maybe we can just look at the case of Relia when he was able to play in Taiwan and we were able to win most of the games that we played there. So maybe that's a good indicator that if given the proper infrastructure, I think Southeast Asian players can somehow narrow the gap uh, versus our Taiwanese friends and Hong Kong friends. And it's not just the infrastructure that I think is the main difference between the Southeast Asia and the Taiwanese community. It's really I think one of the factors would be the focus of the industry as a whole because I think it's not a secret that here in Southeast Asia, here in the Philippines, maybe I could say that mobile gaming is rather big here. And in Taiwan, the way I mean, in the limited time that I spent there, I feel like the League of Legends community there is much more active. So maybe it's really the priority of the communities there. So as
Yep.
you are well aware, here in the Philippines, Mobile Legends is very big, and the Philippine team has been really dominating for the rest of the competition for quite some time. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that plays another factor.
maybe we can actually like talk about this a little more in the topic of the Empyrean Cup that is ongoing right now. Riot actually getting back the publisher rights from Garena. It is actually trying to re-engage the Southeast Asian population from actually going back from those mobiles that pretty much dominated the region. And do you think this is actually going to get get what they expected, get their estimated result? Like, do you think that there is an angle where these kinds of amateur competitions can actually lead to something more? Like we've had some Filipino teams also looking at the also competing at the PCL, and it's
Mhm.
definitely you can see some potential in the Philippines. So,
Oh,
what do you think about this?
okay. So regarding the Empyrean Cup, well, I'm very happy that Riot has organized such a big event here in the Philippines, and I hope that it will serve its purpose of reigniting the passion and the community that League of Legends PC once had here in the Philippines. I've been when I look at the teams that registered and who won top four in the first part of the qualifiers. I'm happy to see some familiar faces, the usual contenders, and to see some new names on the list. Like I knew that these guys were like part of the top way before, and now they're getting a chance for some recognition, and I'm very happy about it. I'm also happy to see some old players, going back to the scene because of
Yeah,
this big tournament. So
like
overall, this is very
like
good for the
one
community.
nickname that I kind of saw was devoured pretty much. Like this is the only person that I remember, but like I just remember hearing about him. To be honest, like I am not that far into the Filipino scene, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, when I also look at the number of registered teams, it was capped at 120 teams so that it can accumulate
Yeah,
an equal bracketing system. So there's phase two, which WP Academy will compete next month. So yeah, but, overall, this competition, this reignited community, it's very good in our scene, and hopefully it will um, bring back inspire future Filipino players, to aim higher, and maybe we can have more than one Filipino team in the PCS.
yeah, and when it comes to the PCS, we've obviously had the PCL coming up this split with some academy
Mhm.
teams going in with the open qualifier. Like we've seen in the open qualifier, we've had Gods and Esports, we've
Mhm.
had the team looking for sponsor, which had devoured as we saw. The same team actually went through the went through the qualifier from the Empyrean Cup and as the first seed,
Mhm.
and
Mm. They're a very strong team. I know most of these players. Two of them were former players of mine. Uh, so they're very, very strong, and I have the utmost respect for their team.
Yeah, and when it comes to PCL as well, we've seen the announcement that WP Academy is not going to participate in playoffs. You've did, I don't know, sold some teams to MCOM Esports that actually played in the Open qualifier. Can you expand a little bit on that decision to actually just not field the roster for the PCL playoffs? Like,
Um,
do you think that basically the group stage was enough experience for your team, or was it some kind of other angle?
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the PCL for giving a chance to West Point Esports Academy to field the team. I feel like they've recognized the effort that we put into our academy system because ideally, the purpose of the academy team is to train new players so that whenever someone from the main roster leaves, you can easily get a new player, right?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we encountered some, the usual problems that we had during the first split, wherein we cannot really play at this certain internet level.
Yeah, I
Um,
see. Okay.
yeah, and at the same time, it somehow coincided with the classes of some of our academy players. So our practice time was very much limited, and at the same time, um, some of the games were in actual conflict when it comes to the classes of the players, and my ADC YJY has to relocate to other countries, so that's why the roster was a little bit shaky, and we decided to rebuild and give away the slot. I've talked to the
All
organizers
right.
about it, and I feel like we can still fight for that playoff spot for sure. But I feel like it's much more good for the scene, to have three teams from the open qualifiers so that it can really spice up we get really good teams, really good players to showcase their stuff. Instead of getting top two teams, now they're getting top three teams, and I think it's very healthy for the PCS region to entertain such good competition.
Yeah, and when it comes to that third seed who actually advanced through the open qualifier, it was actually the roster who with players relatively unknown to the scene because the first and second seed that advanced were the Nate 9-5 something and Nate A teams, which were filled with old, not old, but known PCS and some LDL players, the likes of LZ, Kino, Quiet, Alex, and coming up there. It certainly did give us some. It will give us some spotlight into some new rookie players coming up, and yeah, this does seem. This did seem like. No offense, maybe it will just make the level of play a little bit higher in the playoffs, I guess. So, um, yeah.
Definitely. But
uh,
again, we welcome the challenge.
I mean, once again, no offense.
Oh, no, no, none
Yeah,
taken, none taken.
yeah. And when it comes to that topic, I would also ask about the fact that PCS overall has relegations. Like, basically, the question of franchising versus relegation coming up here as. During the last Garena years, we've basically had somewhat of a quasi-franchising system because there were simply no relegations, and it kind of backfired massively when teams just kind of started dropping for sometimes not even simply fielding the rosters like Boom and Liab did, actually, and some teams just straight up publicly saying that they are not interested. The recent results weren't as good, so they were leaving. And what do you like? Are you happy that relegations are actually in the PCS, or would you rather actually see some franchising or half franchising system like Valorant does to actually see more capital influx go into PCS?
Well, I can answer that on two different perspectives. Like, as a team owner, I feel like the franchising system has its advantages and disadvantages, right? I feel like on a capital influx perspective, just like what you've mentioned, I feel like it's much better because there's a sense of security when it comes to your stuff, and you are given the time, to experiment with other players, different lineups, unlike with a relegation system where you're really forced to play your best right away. Otherwise, you put yourself in a position of losing the slot in the PCS. And the other one would be on an operational perspective because I feel like we really want our region to grow and maybe contend with the top positions in the worlds or MSI. So if you are in that position of uncertainty, you are forced to bring out it. It brings out the best from everyone, and
like like there's
I
basically, I would say, a situation where you are pressured, and like some people may kind of crumble under that pressure, but sometimes this is really what polishes the diamond, so to say, when it comes to some players.
agree. And I've been talking with some Taiwanese players, and feel like at this particular industry there is always that pressure, not just coming from external environment, oh, we will be relegated, but also coming from the different stakeholders, particularly those who invested really a lot when it comes to the team. The pressure to perform at the same time, to play a certain X number of games per day to reach this certain rank in tougher servers, etc., etc. So I think pressure will always be part of this industry, and maybe that somehow I don't know. I cannot really speak for all the players, but it may polish that player at the same time. Not all players are really cut out for that type of pressure. So I guess it's the task of the management to balance that pressure, right?
Yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, that's it for that question, I guess. I mean, I'm just going to transition into also like kind of similar but like way other topic in a sense, because we've had this year we've had the PCS merging with the Oceanic region, and
Mhm.
some years ago we've basically formed the PCS region by merging the Southeast Asia with the LMS, and when Oceania was actually merging with PCS, there were actually some rumors that the Japanese region may also link to that whole system, and I would like to get your opinion on like the consolidation that those minor regions right now experience, just being merged with the bigger ones. We've had some rumors even like with Brazil merging maybe with NA and that kind of stuff. Like, what is your opinion on these kinds of um, news?
Um, I guess it same with my answer earlier. It has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages that you're really forced, to bring out the best because I can somehow link that up with a same type of merger, but not in esports, but with basketball, wherein the Oceania region was merged with Asia, and it's the other way around in basketball. You know how good the Australians and the people from New Zealand are really
Yeah.
are in basketball, so it's tough. So maybe it's the other way around when it comes to esports. So, and we're seeing the results here. That I think for this split, the
Oh.
Oceania regions performed
Okay.
better as compared to the previous split. So I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't really seen the actual results, but I think they got more wins this split as compared to last split. So I'm taking that positively that somehow the competition is really improving everyone there in our friends in Australia and New Zealand. So hopefully next split they'll be able to go into the second round and have more wins.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So the other.
But sorry.
What?
If I may add on that aspect, I mean, it's now. I mean, I'm pretty sure that prior to making that decision, Riot really did their research, because they're really good at publishing and managing games, right? And I feel like it's a challenge for the Oceania region, to somehow capitalize on this transition, to reignite the passion of the New Zealand and Australia region. Because I happened when I was in Taiwan during the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually watching the Twitch streams, and you can really see the influx of additional viewers, mainly coming from the Oceania region supporting their team. So maybe it's a way for them, to unite and support their region as they compete in the playoffs of PCS. So I think that's a positive thing for their community.
Yeah, as a stable chat member of the English PCS broadcast, I definitely agree that there were so many oceanic people coming into playoffs, and also there's also a massive influx of people at those times just coming off in between games of LCK and LPL, and it's always just nice to see the chat actually flow
Mhm.
when it comes to that angle. So we can actually transition to a little bit maybe more personal topics, like how hard it is to actually manage an esports org in this scope that you're experiencing.
Um, I'm well, that's a good question. Um, I feel like it's satisfying in a sense because I'm really a gamer by heart, and one of my mentors told me that we should not really let go of the things that truly make us happy. So prior to all of this, when I started Westwood Esports, it was not really meant to be a competitive team. I used to own several computer shops here in the Philippines
Hmm.
prior to the pandemic, but when the pandemic happened, it was one of the industries that were wiped out. So that's actually one of the reasons why League of Legends uh, really slowed down, because people not all people have access to good gaming computers. So when the computer shops closed, they do not really have a way to play League of Legends PC anymore. Um, when I um, so when I started Westwood Esports, it was just for initially just more of a marketing tool for me for my computer shops. But this pandemic, it opened up a new avenue of having online tournaments that have a more instead of having regional on-site tournaments that we used to win a lot in our province. But when the opportunity arose that we were able to compete on a national level, with other top Philippine teams, that's where I saw the potential of the team, that maybe we can really compete. And I used to really I don't know half of my mind back then if this is really worth pursuing, because at that time it was just more of a hobby of mine. But when we won silver in the 31st SEA Games, that's when I decided to make
Hmm.
this really a full-time one. So managing a team has its positives and negatives. Positive would be, you get to guide these players, these amazing young kids. Some of them don't even have the capacity, let's just say, on a financial perspective, to compete. So I'm happy to be somehow influential on their lives. I get to guide them, get to teach them some things, and mold them into becoming good esports professional, because that's where Westwood Esports came in. I'm a fan of the military school in the United States, so I try to instill all of these values with our players. Um, it's stressful at times because there are some things that um, are beyond my control. And as a team owner, it gives me, and as a Filipino as well, gives me a little bit of pride that somehow we can, still represent the Philippines in this particular stage. And my hope is to, train and hopefully inspire other Filipino players to play more, play hard, play harder, and maybe compete at the PCS. sooner or later? Well, I'm actually um, uh, going to post some, we're recruiting some players, for future development, and I just want the Philippine League of Legends to be, hopefully, be at par with our PCS neighbors.
Yeah, and when it comes to also managing a team, you definitely need to find some people who actually share your vision and are actually competent in what they are doing, and actually like seeing the results happen. You've actually managed to make some successes, at least on a Southeast Asian level. Like, can you tell me how hard it was to actually find those people?
It's tough because you really need to find someone who shares values with you, and that desire to win. Because I understand our position right now when it comes to the PCS, that as with any other esports, there are lucrative teams, there are famous teams, that players really aspire to play for. Like in the case of NBA, the Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
and some players really want to play for those big markets team. And I understand the position of Westwood Esports right now, that they're not really a team of choice as of the moment. So I guess it also plays down to our advantage to get those players that are really eager to prove themselves. And I like getting those players that are so hungry to win, because if we are a bigger team, you really have to, if in the future we become a bigger team rather, um, I will now have the burden of determining who really wants to play for us, not just for for popularity if we become popular in the future, but are they really grinding hard to win, or maybe they just want to be part of the team. So right now I'm considering that we are able to get really good players that are eager to win and have a chance to prove themselves in the PCS. So I'm whenever I talk to the new players, I talk to them personally, and I want to assess how badly they want this, and how eager are they to work hard for this. So yeah, that's the managing side when it comes to player selection. And right now, I have two players, Filipino players in the team. So that's Ria, and the other one would be Agrona, which
Yeah,
is
the sub mid laner.
our sub mid laner, who is a very good kid. Um, and hopefully we'll be able to bring more Filipino players. I mean, that's the West Point Academy is there for, right? So we're training these players so that hopefully in the future they can compete in the PCS level.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good long-term point to have, and you actually did answer my question, because I was about to ask like how did you find those players like 669 and Null
Pick
E?
one.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And
Um, they were what I really love about the Taiwanese community. I mean, as far as my limited knowledge is concerned, is that they're so tight, and whenever they know someone that's a free agent, they can just recommend it. Because, for example, if I get this player, he knows that I'm also looking for this specific position, and he can really think of someone. Oh, I will invite this player to try out for the team. So that's it's like a domino effect when it comes to hiring, when it comes to the Taiwanese community, because everyone really knows each other. And whenever they see our post, like let's say we're looking for a jungler, they can really point it, they can really forward that post to that specific jungler. You can try out for this team, etc.
yeah, we've also had like for example the free agent list a year ago and 2 years ago. I think it was, I mean, it was a great resource for me as someone who actually records the off-season transfer moves and that sort of stuff. It was a great resource to have, and it's really it is really convenient that you can actually look at two or maybe three websites to actually get most of the information that you can find, apart from like private messages, which at which point like you would have to be there to actually get that information. So um,
Mhm.
another question that I was about to ask you, and it's maybe a little bit of a tone shift in that regard, like all of the at least Western community, because in the East it isn't as much visible. Like the Western community is basically just in the state of, you could say, a um, I forgot the word. Like they are just panicking about the esports winter, and I would like to know actually how it impacts the Asian communities, whether it actually does impact you, given that you are just kind of that close, small community, which maybe it's just doesn't have the scale to be affected by that kind of tendencies.
Are you talking about the impact when it comes to the industry as a whole?
Yeah. The industry as a whole, like just the recession going on,
Yeah.
the investor money just waning. Like it doesn't necessarily has to be the problem for you, but I think that there are definitely some things that did impact the Southeast Asian community. For example, the Korean
Mhm.
account bans that when I was talking to Smurf on the second episode on the podcast,
Mhm.
he actually mentioned that as something that influence the amount of teams that could scream them very hard.
That is true. The recession when it comes to the industry here in Southeast Asia, I feel like it's much more in the West because everything is a little cheaper when it comes here in Southeast Asia as
Mm-hmm.
compared to other regions. And I'm an accountant by profession, so getting these numbers are really a priority of mine to make sure that we're really growing as an organization and we're managing our expenses as a whole. Um, but I think the term that they are currently using would be the market is correcting itself when it comes to the valuations, etc., etc. So it's just much more noticeable or much more visible in the Western because how big the money is flowing in the Western scene.
Okay, I'm
So
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, definitely. Like in the West, a huge part of just the money flowing was definitely just venture capital, and
Venture
the,
capital, correct.
yeah, and I think that the term of marketing correcting itself is definitely a good one to pick. And mm, how in Southeast Asia are you actually in financing yourselves that you are able to confidently say that? You are not going to basically struggle during those times.
Yeah, because one is we've been able to maintain our finances intact. We're not really over expanding as much as as much as other organizations, and right now we're not really backed up by any venture capitalists. I have private investors with me, but not really. I haven't really gone into Series A funding yet because I'm still waiting for that perfect opportunity to 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 come. So I'm just weathering this storm right now, and we're starting out as an organization, just getting our followers, trying to get more traction in social media and other platforms. So we're not really put in that pressure, because of course as an accountant, I know how investments work, and there's sometimes there's pressure when it comes to delivering when someone really invested in you, especially with a big amount like okay, I invested, let's say, what, $10 million, and then all of a sudden, when you generate your financial reports, it's not really going as profitable as you have predicted it to be. So I feel like there's some pressure on the organizations to really perform. So maybe they're trying to cut on some expenses. I've been hearing some been hearing some news that some staffs were being cut off from organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Stock prices are going down. So I feel like um, here in Southeast Asia, as far as I'm concerned, we can't really feel that impact yet because the costs here are not really as big as our Western counterparts.
Yeah, and do you think that Taiwan is actually going to get impacted more, like Taiwanese and Kong-based organizations?
Um, I maybe okay because I think some Asian esports organizations are backed up by venture capital funding from Western ones. So I feel like there might be some impact, but I feel like the scene in Asia is let's say much more
But
stable.
I see.
Okay, particularly when it comes to the audience, especially when it comes to the Chinese audience. So we all know how big
Yeah, I mean,
gaming is in
contrary
China.
to West, the numbers, like the viewership, is actually still growing. So
I feel like the ecosystem there is much more intact because the viewers will there support the esports organization, and in turn, that uh, in return, the sponsors, which sometimes are companies, they get their money's worth when it comes to investing due to the advertising because this is mostly advertising expense for some companies. So the cycle continues. The advertisers
yeah,
get their money's worth when it comes to advertising, so the money
and
keeps
it's
flowing
like
in.
all data driven as well. Like definitely the fact that the PCS actually made a slight comeback when it comes to viewership, especially with just Godstone being there on the stage. So
Yeah,
it's
very very famous.
yeah. Okay, so I think this is going to be it for the episode, unless you have something that you wanted to mention to talk about. Do you have something like this in your mind?
The plug. Uh, I just want to, I've been reading a lot of comments, and I've been hearing some good things about the development of our team, and I truly appreciate it. It kind of gives me, more validation to continue pursuing esports, and cannot really guarantee anything, but what I can guarantee is that we will improve by next split, especially that we will have our own gaming house and our Filipino players will be playing in Taiwan at the start of the split right away. So being there will definitely be a game changer. So we're just aiming to improve, take it one game at a time, one play at a time, and Westpoint Esports is going to continue to compete in the Pacific Championship Series as long as we can.
Okay, so thank you so much for being the guest for the
Of
podcast.
course,
I really appreciate it. Like getting
thank
guests
you.
for this show is really hard, and the fact that you came out and actually proposed appearing here on the show is really nice of you, and I hope that you are going to achieve successes in the coming years. I am definitely hyped to see some proper Filipino representation in the PCS. So I have been Meander. This was West Point, West Point Esports owner, Ale, and this was it for this episode. See you in the next one.